It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Shorman, and this is the Forum on Eagle Community Television. Great to have you watching along. We're going to talk about the Kansas Academy of Math and Sciences. We have the director of that program right here with us, and his name is Roger Schieferecke. And Roger, good to have you here.
Well, it's a pleasure being here. I'm excited to talk about the CAMS program.
Tell us a little bit, because there are some people out watching there right now that probably say, CAMS, I remember that. It's Math and Sciences, Fort Hays State. It's a great program. What are the details to fill in those blanks?
There's a lot of details, but I'll give you a snapshot of what we are. The Kansas Academy of Math and Science was established in 2006 through legislative action. However, it took us a couple years to get administrative staff in place, but we're recruiting our 7th class of students, and what our program is it's an early entry to college program. So what we do is we take high school juniors and seniors, and they leave their high school and they actually get fully immersed into the college environment, and they take courses right along regular college students at Fort Hays State University. Obviously, we have a STEM focus, so lots of math, science, technology, some pre-engineering type things. And so then at the end of 2 years, the student still graduates from their sending high school, their original high school, but they graduate with 68 hours of college credit at a minimum.
Now, you started ground one because you were the assistant director,
right.
and now this is your first full year as director. You're
Correct.
just ending that. It has to be exciting to see some of these kids. You'll be now in like the 3rd generation of kids that have gone through this that are now graduating and going on to college and going other places.
Correct. When I tell people that I work with 60, 70 high school students, and I'm really responsible for those students, they think, geez, you know, what kind of stress is that? And my response is, it's not stress, it's exciting to see what these kids can do with some of the things that we give them. It's amazing where they can go, and I'll give you a quick example. I have a student of mine from Sabetha that completed our program at the age of 17. She went to school at Kansas State University, graduated from K-State at the age of 19, and is now she got early admission into the pre-vet program, and she's working on her doctorate in the veterinary school, and she's not even 21.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Special kids sign up for this
Right.
program. Where are they from?
You know, we get students from all across the state. We have students from as far west as Goodland, and then obviously Kansas City. The majority of our students come from obviously the more heavily populated areas of Topeka, Kansas City, Lawrence, Wichita, but they do come from all over the state, and then we have an international component. We do bring in students, a few international students each year, and typically from China and South Korea.
Where do these kids live?
The students live in Custer Hall, which is a traditional residence hall on campus, and we have, since they are high school students, we do have some heightened security in there in the building, and they have a few rules that they have to follow that our traditional college students aren't required to follow, but they live right on campus in Custer Hall.
One of the things I know, you've been out and you've been working, you know, in the recruitment, is that the right word for it?
Sure, absolutely.
Traveling around the state. What do you tell parents? Because you sit down, you're not any different than some of the coaches that are saying, here's why you should send your child to my school.
Right.
What do you tell them?
Well, first off, we want to talk to the student on why they're interested in a program like ours. And I'll tell you, the story is different for each student, but there's some common threads. And one of those commonalities is that students are bored in their high school environment. And they may not be challenged, they may not have the courses offered that they're ready for. And so what we tell parents is that their son or daughter will get the challenge that they're missing, and that they have the opportunity to take classes well beyond what they would be allowed to take at the high school. And so we have students, Calc 2, our students are required to complete through Calculus 2, but they go well beyond that. I mean, they can take differential equations, linear algebra, discrete structures, et cetera, et cetera. So the sky is really the limit in terms of rigors of the curriculum.
Now, the schools that participate in this, obviously, are from all over the state. Do they stay involved then with their student once they come to Fort Hays? Do they still take some classes back there, or are they just it's a whole deal right at Fort Hays State?
It's everything's at Fort Hays. However, I think it's important to note that the school that they come from still gets credit for that student's performance. So they still are required to take state assessments, and the sending school still gets record of their students that is in the CAMS program. And I'll give you an example of one school that comes to mind is Hiawatha High School. They've sent us, we've had 5 or 6 students from Hiawatha, and every time we get a student from there, it's like a feather in their cap, that they've had a student that was accepted into our program. So we want to keep that relationship with the high schools because we think that they should be very proud that they've prepared a student that can handle the rigors of our curriculum.
Now, this is the only program like this in the state.
We're the only program in the state, and we're the 16th statewide academy in the country.
That's something to be proud of.
It is.
Hey, we have our guest here is Roger Schieferecke, who is the director of the Kansas Academy of Math and Science. We're going to come back and talk about how this program is funded, some of the challenges coming ahead. We'll talk about that after this from our sponsor, Hayes Med.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to the second half of our program here on Eagle Community Television. Our sponsor is Hayes Med. If you have questions, you have ideas, special things you'd like us to talk about on this program, send them to me at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also chase us down on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, just type in the search bar ECTV Forum and you can match up with us there. Again, our guest is Roger Schieferecke, who is the director of the CAMS program, the Kansas Academy of Math and Sciences at Fort Hays State University. We went into the break talking about the funding mechanism for this, and there's some changes coming our way in high school and really education in general. How does that affect the CAMS program?
Well, that's kind of a wait and see right now. Currently, our current funding model is we get the per pupil base aid from the sending school, and that kind of offsets some of the tuition and fees that students have to find a way to pay for. And so with the kind of the changes in the funding of funding of K through 12 education, that'll affect us a little bit, but we're kind of wait and see on how that'll happen. But our program is so important to the future of the state of Kansas in terms of generating that talent in the STEM fields, that we're confident that we'll continue on the same path that we always have. The funding may just come from a different angle.
When you look at that, you mentioned the STEM program and how important that is to our state. It is, and finding young people, instead of having to go out of the state and then never come back, finding a way to keep them here. In your example, you talked about the young lady that's already the age of 20 working on her doctorate degree in veterinary medicine at Kansas State. That's a great example of what you're trying to do. When you take a look at that and you kind of wrap it all into one area, that importance is finding the right people. If there's somebody out there today that has a young person they know, that grandkid, somebody they know that's extremely bright, that wants to go through this, how do they get into the program?
Okay. We have first off, make contact with us and we'll be able to provide you more information.
Is there a cams.com somewhere online
there is,
somewhere?
If you go to the Fort Hays State University website and you just do a quick search from the main page of CAMS, K-A-M-S, you'll come directly to our website. But essentially, Gary, we have an application process. We take a holistic look at the student. We have some minimum requirements, including an ACT score. And then they have to have some, because they immediately start in pre-calculus or higher, and so they have to have some certain courses completed before they come to us, so like Algebra 2, geometry, things like that. And so there's some minimum requirements, and then we make the students write an essay, we make the parents kind of write a letter of support, and we ask for some recommendations from English teacher, science teacher, math teacher, counselor, things like that. So it's a pretty extensive application process. But then once they get in, The state of Kansas will cover up to 68 hours of college credit. That's tuition fees. We have some money to help them offset the cost of books, some research supplies, things like that. And so the first thing to do is to go to our website and get some more information, make contact.
Do you turn some people away?
Yes, we do. We just have some students who we feel aren't quite prepared, and we certainly want to make sure we're bringing in students that can be successful. And so we're allowed to bring in 40 Kansans per year in each class. And so we do have to turn some students away. And since we're on this topic, our priority deadline is April 1st. And so students can get their application in by then, and it'll be considered. If we have spots available after the April 1st deadline, we'll certainly consider their application.
So if they have to do this program afterwards, they can still send their stuff in and do that and make it work.
Yep.
What are your goals? Once you do a CAMS program like this, and you're going, how do we make it more cool than this? You're new, you're just finishing your first year. What's in store for this program 5 years down the road?
Well, I think the CAMS staff and myself, we're excited about the research component to the program, because our students, in addition to taking coursework, are required to do academic research. And so we want to give them more opportunities to do research. We also want to engage them in more academic type activities, and as an example, we have a group of students working on high altitude balloon research with Dr. Paul Adams. We also have students launching high altitude rockets. So some of those cool academic type programs where they can tie what they're learning in the classroom into real world applications in a fun environment. And so I think that's one thing we're looking toward.
I'd venture to say you probably enjoy the rocket class too, don't you?
It's cool. It's cool. I like it.
Tell me a little bit about your background, because when you get in one of these programs, like how did Roger get here into heading up this program, with some of the brightest young people in our state?
Right. Well, my background really, before coming into contact with CAMS, was in enrollment management. And so I'd always worked as I was director of admissions at Fort Hays years ago. And then my professional career kind of took me down to Louisiana and was director of enrollment management down there. Then kind of came to a point where I wanted to go back and get my doctorate, so I went up to South Dakota, so from one extreme to the other. Finished my doctoral work there. At that time, CAMS was in its first year of existence with students, and an opportunity came up to be essentially the academic advisor, counselor for the students. And so I had begun at South Dakota working with the student engagement piece of higher education, and so it was just a nice fit. And so was able to work with the CAMS students for the first 4 or 5 years of the program. And then Ron Keller, who founded the program, or was the first director of the program, retired, and that provided an opportunity for me to step up and lead the program into the next phase.
And you made it a point of saying this is for Kansas kid. You're a Kansas kid as well.
Norton Blue Jay, class of '91.
So you're right a part of that, and
right.
It sounds like an exciting time. Again, if you can go to Fort Hays State's website, you can look up KAMS, just type that into the search window. You'll find all about the CAMS program, and I hope you find somebody in your family, somebody you know that you can send, because it's a great program.
Absolutely, thank you.
Roger Schieferecke has been our guest here on the ECTV Community Forum. Good to have you watching along. The program is brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communication, our community connected.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.